Hey WUVT listeners, this is Mari.
And I'm Lizzie.
We're with Move It News and Promotions, and we got the opportunity to interview pop singer Jesse McCartney on Tuesday for Hillel's Daniel Pearl Music Day, which was a concert held at the Lyric Theater. We're about to live broadcast the interview that we got with him, exclusive backstage for the first time on air. You were one of the writers for Bleeding Love, sung by Leona Lewis. What are some lesser-known collaborations that you don't often get credit for?
I don't know that there are too many others that are that hidden. I think being the face of a song or being on a song where you're taking part of the vocals, then most people know. And I don't outside of Bleeding Love, I don't know if there's any like big credible songs that I wrote that weren't for myself. So I would say that's the biggest one. Everything else is pretty much out there in the open, along with the rest of my life. So.
We gathered questions from listeners and radio staff members, so we're including a few of these questions in our interview.
Cool.
Brittany, a senior studying mechanical engineering, wants to know, what was it like working with Emily Osment in Young and Hungry?
Hey, Brittany. Yeah, Emily was amazing. She is one of the smartest, funniest actors in Hollywood, and it was a joy working on that show. And I got to work also alongside Jonathan Sadowski, who's a good buddy of mine up until recently, my next door neighbor. He just moved, but we were in Chernobyl Diaries together, which was a picture we filmed in Serbia and in Hungary, and it was a horror film. And like 2 years later or 3 years later, after making that movie, I would end up doing this show with him, which was just kind of a happy surprise. But Emily's the best. I had a great time working with her. It was sad when the show ended because I know that it had a big fan following.
We actually have a related question. One of our listeners, Sarah, wanted to know, what was scarier, filming Chernobyl Diaries or being on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody?
What was scarier? Obviously, Chernobyl was a little bit more just eerie, I think, shooting over there in Eastern Europe, just shooting in a place that doesn't feel like home. There's obviously the language barrier too, and it just felt like you were, when you're in a strange place and you don't know anybody, it's just you're a little bit more on edge. And we were filming in like tunnels that were used by like the Nazis during the Second World War, so it had a lot of history behind it, and it was spooky working in a place. We were shooting in an area where probably real deaths did occur. So, a little trivial knowledge for you on the making of Chernobyl, but it was, the Sweet Life was, Disney and rainbows.
Laurel, a senior studying computer science, asked, how often do you talk to your mom?
Not as often as she'd like me to. I think all moms wish that they could talk to their children every day, but we talk quite a bit, weekly. For sure.
Colin, our art director at the radio station, really wanted us to ask you if you think you could take a gator with your bare hands.
Definitely not. I wouldn't want to try. Losing my hands would be a big blunder or just a big career mistake. I need them to play the keys and to strum on a guitar and to hold the microphone, so I wouldn't want to lose my hands anytime soon.
How is your experience releasing music now different than it was when you released songs like Beautiful Soul?
Well, I think that in the current climate of making music, it's about content, it's about variety, it's about having an abundance of it. I think that the music consumer, without getting too far behind the curtain here, but I think like the music consumer they just have this insatiable appetite for music and content, and you can't release stuff fast enough for your fans. What is nice is that you can release it pretty quickly. You don't have to go jump through hoops anymore, like you once did maybe in the Beautiful Soul days at major record companies where you had to get sort of the permission and seek the approval of a dozen or 24 people before releasing a song. Now you can just, the click of your fingertips, you can put something out through social media or on YouTube or on Spotify, within less than 24 hours of it being recorded at the studio. So that has sort of expedited the process, or the, your review process, meaning like, if I play a song, I can get pretty quickly a response from my fans, whether they dig it or they think it's awful. So I think those are probably the biggest differences.
And has your songwriting process changed at all?
It's an interesting question. I don't think so. I mean, I think that no, the writing process is pretty much, that's probably the one thing that has remained constant over the years is, there is no rhyme or reason sometimes. Something pops into my head. I take it to the studio and try to develop it. And 95% of the time it becomes nothing, and you're aiming for that 5% net, that catches something cool. So I think overall at least for me, the writing has sort of remained the same over the years.
What has the response been to your newest music?
So far, it's been incredibly positive. The first two songs are off to a crazy start. Better With You has millions of streams already, and views. I think the video was instrumental in sort of getting it to the top. And yeah, I think Better With You was sort of a nice way to tickle the nostalgia bone for a lot of fans who grew up listening to me. It has very reminiscent of some of my earlier stuff, like Beautiful Soul. And I think Wasted is proven to be a really fun college song, partly because a lot of the college kids half the time are wasted. I don't know if you can air that, but it is definitely it's a fun party song, and about getting a late night text. I actually am running a challenge right now called jeez. It's called You Up, and it's like on Wednesdays I'm having people send me the best reactions of people who text somebody late at night saying "You Up" and getting their reactions and screenshotting them, and I'm going to be posting the best ones. So that song has inspired some fun creative stuff on social media. Wasted Wednesdays, that's what it's called.
Do you still get recognized a lot when you're out and about?
Quite a bit. I think it has to do with just like usually if I wear a hat, like maybe it knocks down the recognition by 50%. I think my hair is sort of a dead giveaway, and just my face in general. But it's funny. I think I thought about this, and I think with female celebrities, they change their hairstyles and their makeup, and they have they have a whole glam department usually, that they change everything so much that they are always looking different. It's just a theory. Whereas as a dude, you don't like try different eyeshadows. At least I don't. Some artists might, but and it just you don't change your face that much. So when I go out, particularly in smaller towns, I think I'm maybe a little bit more recognizable.
If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
I always loved giraffes for some reason. It's funny, for Halloween, my girlfriend and I have been discussing, because she's been planning Halloween costumes for 2 months. She just can't wait. She's like, what are we going to be? So I think we're going to be, the two of us and then all of our friends, we're going to be party animals. So we're all going to dress up as a zoo animal, and then wear like a party hat with those party blowers. And she wants me to be an elephant so she can be a mouse, so she can get the Instagram photo of her scaring me, a big elephant. But my favorite animal is probably a giraffe. I grew up loving giraffes as a kid.
WUVT's slogan is Radio for Everyone. How do you create music for everyone?
Well, I don't think my music is for everyone. I mean, that's, an unrealistic goal. There's always going to be people that, don't like your music. I don't try to think about that too much because it would drive me nuts. I try my best to make my music universally appealing, and my messages are usually pretty positive. They're real. Sometimes they're about, negative emotions, but I think that, if you like the pop genre of music, I think maybe you dig it, but listen, I know I have a lot of friends who are into like Megadeth and AC/DC that would never listen to my music and only come to my shows because they're my friends. But I try my best to write stuff that is universally appealing, and I think that love is definitely one of those things that everyone can relate to, despite your specific taste in music genre or language barriers.
All right, Jesse, last thing before we let you finish your sushi. Would you record a station ID for us?
Sure. Hey, what's going on? I'm Jesse McCartney, and you're listening to WUVT FM 90.7 Blacksburg.